Hello, ladies and gentlemen. God bless each and every one of you. It is Sunday. It's about lunchtime. I just left church, and I want to say God bless you to each and every one of you, all of my subscribers. I couldn't make a video without you. There wouldn't be nobody to watch them. There would be no reason to make a video. So I just want, first and foremost, I want to thank every one of you. I know you didn't have to subscribe to my channel, and I thank you for that. I really do. And I hope the rest of this year we as a channel can grow. We can grow. And not only with other subscribers, but spiritually we can grow together and we can learn from each other and pray for one another. But today is Father's Day 2022, and I want to just talk about my father briefly. That's all I'm going to do in this video. I just want to just kind of tell you about my dad. I lost my father when I was young, and he's been gone a very, very long time. I did not have him a long time, but the years that he was on earth and was my father was wonderful years. My father was a loving father. He was one of the fathers that we don't see too much anymore. He got up at 4:30 in the morning every morning, went to work. It didn't matter if it was 2 degrees outside or 98 degrees outside. He got out and went to work to support me, my mother, and my 5 brothers. We were 6 boys altogether. And my father's family is from Augusta, Georgia. So wonderful, wonderful people down south. Wonderful people. Most of them are gone now. All my father's brothers and sisters, my aunts and uncles are all gone except for the youngest. And I believe she's in her 70s. She's the only one left of my aunts and uncles. And of course, I have some cousins that are down there. But to get back to my father, I'll give you an example of the kind of man my father was. In the 1970s, I was very little, but I do remember this. I was very little, and we were going through a very rough patch, kind of like now. Our economy was really bad. We were mired in a recession. This was under the Carter administration. And I was little, but even though I was little, I do have memories of this. I really do. I remember that it had gotten so bad that there was lines at the grocery stores. I remember you couldn't get gas because you had to go on a certain day. I remember something to do with the license plates. They were odd and even, and if your tag ended in an even number, you go on these days to get gas, and if it ended in an odd number, you went on those days to get gas. That's how bad it gotten. And of course, the cost of living was through the roof. America's morale was the lowest, that it had probably been since the Depression, I would imagine. And like I said, inflation, recession. I remember there was a lot of strikes at General Motors and plants like that, seeing on TV. But as a kid, I remember seeing these strikes just going on and on and on, day after day after day. People were hungry. I remember the hostages got taken at that time in Iran. So it was a bad time for America. And that was the only time in my father's life that I could ever remember that he actually lost his job. He got laid off. And there was very little work in the United States at that time. He was what they called he was a high tension, high power electrician. He worked on high power lines, meaning he didn't do house electric and wire houses. Could he? Yes, he could. But he did the lines that you see when you're going down the road and you might be riding in a rural area. You see those big steel towers out in the field, and they're running these big, thick cable lines from one to the other. Those are towers. They run, electricity from a station into a city of transformers that run lights in cities and stuff. That's the type of electric that he did, which was hundreds of thousands of volts. So very, very dangerous job. But to get back to my story, the only time I remember him being laid off was about at that time. And at that time, Saudi Arabia was booming in construction. They wasn't in a recession, and my dad's company had won some contracts to do some high tension, electric lines over there, and they offered my dad to go. He did not want to go, but he had to feed his family. He had to keep a roof over our heads. Remember, there were 6 boys. Had to keep a roof over our heads. So, reluctantly, I remember he got on a plane and he went to Saudi Arabia, and he was gone a while, but he would always send his paycheck back every week. The company would make sure that, I don't know how he did it. I don't know in the 70s how you sent money or whatever, but I know the company took care of it, and Mom got money for the bills and groceries and stuff like that, and they gave Dad a place to stay. They had all the construction workers and all of those type people, architects and all that, staying in these compounds. So he had a place. He didn't have to pay for, a place to stay. So he was able to send his entire check back week after week, and that kept us afloat. It really did. And then he went to a couple other countries before things started picking back up when Reagan came into office and the economy started picking back up. And my dad was able to remain in the United States up until he lost his life. So that just give you a little, detail of how my dad was. He was a man's man. He took care of his family. That was first and foremost. I had seen him many times do without. So he could, or we could have whatever, whatever it was, he would do without. And him and my mother both. So the children, like at Christmas time, during that period of time, there wasn't a lot of money. And they didn't buy each other presents, but they made sure whatever money they had went to the kids, for them to have presents. Things like that, Things that parents should do today. Things that fathers should do today. But unfortunately, a lot of fathers, and I hate to say it, they abandon their children. They don't pay child support. The poor mother has to struggle and be both mother and father, and that is such a horrible thing. But I give a lot of props to mothers out there, that have to live that life, to be a single mother and take care of both, or be the role of the father and the mother. It's not easy, folks. And, my heart goes out to all the ones that have to do that. Thankfully, I had, both parents. But as time went on a little bit after all of that, he came back to the United States and settled down. And then back then we rented a lot of houses because the economy was bad, and that Mom and Dad wanted to own a home, but it just wasn't at that time viable. It wasn't just wasn't able to do it. So I entered into middle school at this time, 6th grade or thereabouts. I don't even know how old I was, 9 years old, maybe when you're in 6th grade, 10, I don't know. But anyways, they were able to buy, this was during Reagan's first term, they were able to buy a home, and Dad was so excited. And I remember, he was just beaming, had a big yard, had a big garage, and my father was extremely happy that, we had decent places to live. We didn't live in shacks or anything like that when we rented, but, this was his, this was his and my mother's, this was their place, their property, their garage. You could just see that, they worked so hard to this point. Unfortunately, my father didn't get to enjoy very much of the home because he went to work. It was a Friday morning. It was January, and he went to work. And I don't remember anything of that morning. I remember getting up and going to school, and that day was very, very strange because I remember things happened that day that had never happened prior nor after. And I remember coming home from school, and the first thing I remember was there wasn't anybody at home. But that wasn't that, out of touch. That happened. It was Friday. Dad, a lot of times, got caught in the Beltway traffic around Baltimore. So that was very normal. It wasn't. But I remember I fell asleep on the couch, something I never did at that age. I just never did. I remember sitting on the couch watching a cartoon, and I fell asleep. And I woke up, and this was January, so I woke up about 5 o'clock, and it was getting dark because then it gets dark, around 5 o'clock in the winter, and nobody was home. And I was frightened because I knew something was wrong. I just didn't have no idea. And it wasn't long after I woke up, maybe a few minutes, I got a phone call from my uncle, my mom's youngest brother, saying, "We're coming to get you. Your dad's been in an accident." That's all they told me. "We'll be there in a few minutes." They picked me up. I sat in the back of the car all the way down to Shock Trauma, which is that famous place in Baltimore, Maryland Shock Trauma. And I'm thinking car accident. I'm thinking, he broke his leg, maybe broke his arm. That's what I'm thinking as a kid. That's what you think. And we get down to the parking garage, and lo and behold, I see my father's truck sitting there. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with the truck, his work truck. There's nothing wrong with it. It was no dents, no nothing. So then it dawned on me, well, he's not in a car accident, So I didn't have a clue what to think. And we went into Shock Trauma, and they hustled us into what they call a family room or something like that. And when I got in the family room, my mother had immediately told me that he had been killed. And they had flew him to Shock Trauma, but from the things I've been told and whatnot, he was already gone. I mean, there's no way you could survive 250,000 volts, which is what got him. And he always knew that work was dangerous. My uncle, whom I never met, my dad's very youngest brother, also died of the same thing. He was the same type of work, and he died the same way. My dad used to always carry his clippings around, or the clipping of the newspaper article where he had passed, in his wallet. I always remember that. So my dad ended up dying the same way his brother died. And then my life changed from that day. My mother, we struggled at first, and my mother pulled things together. I was devastated. My life had never had been the same since it. From that very day, from the moment I walked into that room, I was never the same person. When I walked out of that room, I was a completely different person. It took a part of me just was gone, and it never came back. But the good thing is this. Being that I know my dad was a Christian, I knew he believed and accepted Christ, I know I'll see my father again. And that's the one wonderful thing out of this part of the story, which is kind of depressing in a way, but I know I'll see my father again. And that's the most wonderful thing about it, And it does get tough sometimes on Father's Day and or his birthday, which was just a few weeks ago. So they're both real close together. It's a little rough, but, you get older, you deal with things like that, a little bit better as you get older. But I am now at the age, the exact age that when my father passed. So, that's kind of weird. I never thought, you just don't think when you're that young that you're going to be, that age or whatever. But not that I'm old or anything like that, but I'm not going to tell you my age. You can guess all you want. But yeah, but I had a wonderful father for the time that God gave him to me. I loved him very, very much. And, if your father is around today, as I said, make sure you take the time to thank him give him a hug, tell him you love him, and I think he'll appreciate that more than just about anything. Matter of fact, I know he will. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for letting me share my Father's Day story today. I appreciate it. God bless each and every one of you. Y'all have a good day today, okay? Bye-bye.